Hi, hello. Welcome to another episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is November the 29th, 2023. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. It's been a nice hump day. I feel like today is officially Spotify Wrapped Day, at least for this year, and it was a good one. It was a good one for me. I enjoyed it. I don't know if you guys partake in the holiday festivities. That is, the end of the year musical wrap up of your Spotify listening, but I indeed do. And so this year was good. Last year I didn't even share mine because it was too problematic. I was listening to artists that I shouldn't have been listening to, maybe, I guess you could say. They're little problematic favorites. But let's just, they took it a little too far. I've unfortunately had to cover, one or two of them. You know what I mean? So we made some changes. We did some growth. No, I don't know. I just listened to more pop punk and, just cut out the tumas, if you will. But yeah, overall, I have been enjoying seeing everyone's you know, top listened and how many minutes they put into Spotify. I know that's such a cringe, like, petty thing to even give a shit about. Like, I'm over here looking like they put in more time in Spotify app than I did. Oh, I wonder. But I do care about these things. I look at them, I notice. And honestly, the most important as it pertains to this podcast is the podcast wrapped that they do on the Spotify thing. I love that shit because it just shows me that there are actually motherfuckers out there that listen to my shit and they give a shit. I love you guys. I really do. I appreciate anyone who messaged me, mentioned me, said, hey, this is my top. This is who I listen to, and I'm on their top five. I'm on your top five. I'm on your top three. Whew, I salute y'all. Y'all my listeners. I love y'all. Y'all really putting just a heart emoji just straight into my soul. It just feels good. I don't know. It's nice. I don't even know how to word it. Y'all got me blushing. But yeah, let's see. Is there any food corner I really want to cover, talk about? No. It's been really ho-hum, normie food. But that's okay. I'm always just happy to eat some food. Just, it doesn't have to be that memorable in terms of for the podcast, but, I still enjoyed eating it. You can best believe that. Unless it was bad, then I will definitely tell you about a bad meal. Y'all know that. But yeah, okay. Let me go ahead and do my classic startup, and then we will get into some classic news, and then we can go on about our days or nights or whatever you're listening to this. Whenever you're listening to this. Yeah. All right. The pregame might have been a little bit stronger than usual. I don't know. Maybe. Sometimes you just want to really celebrate the day. You know what I mean? Know what I mean? Okay. All right. I want to start off with a couple of updates. So from Al Jazeera, Sierra Leone attacks were a failed coup attempt. Officials say. So this was about more or less the prison break situation. We covered that recently. A series of attacks on military barracks and prisons in Sierra Leone over the weekend was a failed coup attempt, according to police and government officials in the West African country. Information Minister Chernar Ba said that 13 military officers and one civilian have been arrested following the incident. Now, that being said, there's still, I believe, like thousands of prisoners on the loose, so that's pretty crazy. But, and this was something that was kind of insinuated, I believe, in the article I read when we covered this initially. And I've just kind of been learning more and more, but it seems like they more or less made an official statement about it. So I felt like, okay, feels like a good time to kind of, mention that, hey, this was not just some happenstance, random, like, let's riot vibes, like, thing. Like, this started as, like, hey, we lost an election. And, us as a military, like, our party didn't win, the group that we wanted. At least within, the ranks and people that actually said, hey, we need to mobilize, we need to do something about this. They said, hey, Bio, that's, the last name of the president or prime minister, whatever. Sorry. He won, and it is alleged that like it wasn't a fair election won, that there wasn't enough transparency, that there might have been like either tampering or like intimidation in terms of voters. So this isn't from me saying like, oh, Bio's the good guy here. This was a bad coup. But in the situation, and not to say that I was like, hey, yeah, let's go a coup. We love coups. I don't, no. But at the end of the day, there was unrest about this kind of situation, and it looks like people were saying, hey, we're gonna make these moves on these barracks. We're gonna free these prisoners, and then we're gonna use this kind of momentum to then take that shit to the prime minister and take him out. And that more or less immediately fizzled. So I feel like that's why the news coverage was way more focused on like, oh my gosh, prison break, thousands of prisoners on the loose. So I mean, they're kind of saying like, hey, we rounded up a lot of the people who were involved in leading this shit. Like, things are good. Don't worry. No worries. But I mean, there's still definitely worries because there's prisoners on the loose. And now you're officially saying like, God damn, there was a whole ass fucking coup on, fucking Bio's head. Like, what's going on here? So, I mean, this is definitely kind of more questions than answers. Actually, let me go ahead and just read something a little bit. Government authorities have said at least 20 people were killed in the attacks, and about 2,200 people also escaped from prisons that were attacked. So, I mean, it's just something it's hard to kind of say like, oh, we got it under control. No worries. We're all good now. like no. I'm sorry. It wasn't prime minister. It was president. Good. I'm saving myself a corrections corner right off the top. In televised remarks on Sunday, the country's president, Julius Maada Bio, said that most of the leaders of the attack had been arrested and that the government would continue to pursue the rest. Those killed include 13 soldiers, 3 assailants, a police officer, a civilian, and someone working in private security, according to authorities. 8 people were also seriously injured. So, yeah, that is where we're at on that update. Moving it over to India, technically India, U.S. news. We had an assassination attempt that has been talked about, over the week, and there's been more details that have been released about that I wanted to talk about. So from the Associated Press, Indian official plotted to assassinate Sikh separatist leader in New York, U.S. prosecutors say. So I initially kind of thought like, oh, okay, this is kind of like a rehash. I don't really need to cover it, but it does seem like there's like relevant details that have been divulged that I was like, okay, I definitely didn't cover that before. So let's just go ahead and get into it. An Indian government official directed a plot to assassinate a prominent Sikh separatist leader living in New York City, U.S. I don't know why I said it like that. U.S. prosecutors said Wednesday as they announced charges against a man they said was part of the thwarted conspiracy, murder conspiracy. Now, my beef is with this is that they are aiming the charges at Nakhil Gupta, 52 years old, a citizen of India who was accused of murder for hire and conspiracy to commit murder for hire. The charges carry a potential penalty of up to 20 years in prison. Now, he was the man who was more or less the guy on the ground who orchestrated the event. He had the money. He found a quote-unquote hitman, who, of course, was an informant. Like, never hire a hitman. Like, I am, of course, one of the many podcasters who are going to fucking tell you if you were thinking about doing a murder plot, if you were thinking about setting up an assassination, just don't do it. Just stop. Just rethink your life. Because I guarantee you, this shit is not a movie, dog. You are not going to find a hitman. And if you are, guess what? It's going to be like Horrible Bosses or some shit. It's going to go terrible for you. You're going to wind up in fucking butt-pounding jail for no reason. So just don't do it. Don't do it. But my beef is let me run it back up another paragraph. The Indian government official who initially set this up. So essentially, Gupta is just a middleman in this situation. But the Indian official was not charged or identified by name in an indictment unsealed Wednesday, but was described as a senior field officer with responsibilities in security management and intelligence, said to have previously served in India's Central Reserve Police Force. So essentially, there was a guy above Gupta who was kind of running the strings here, or was at least like a go-between between the Indian government and, Gupta and making this thing happen. And, we've talked about this before, where it's like in Canada, there was a man who was fucking assassinated because essentially he said, hey, I want to form an enclave of people who, are Sikh and want to live peacefully and they don't want to live under Indian oppression. You can come to Canada. You can, be here. We want to have this place. Like, we can be happy and free here. And essentially, they just fucking put the fucking bullet to that motherfucker. And essentially, they were going to do this to the Phnom guy. I know I'm saying that kind of whatever the fuck, but I'm sorry. And, they got called out on this shit. And it's crazy to me that I'm assuming this is like a diplomatic immunity thing. I don't know. They don't say it in the article. But, like, why isn't this government official an accomplice? Like, why isn't he also on the fucking line here? Why isn't he also going to go to fucking butt-pounding jail with Gupta over this shit? Also, as you noted, Gupta set this up when he was in New York, and they have all this evidence on him from that. Then he went back, and now he's, like, jammed up on, like, extradition shit. So it looks like they are going to be able to get a hold of him. I think he wasn't in India. I know it's in the article, but I'm already in the weeds now, and I don't feel like scrolling up and down and wasting your time. So it looks like they're going to be able to get their hands on Gupta, and they're going to run his ass up. But it's crazy to me that it's not also the government official as well. You know what I mean? I just feel like that's kind of a slight in and of itself, and, like, he's just getting off because of, like, a technicality and diplomatic immunity. I always think that shit's crazy. Like, because what is the limit of that? And I know I should probably know that, right? Like, what are the limits of diplomatic immunity? But it seems like there sometimes aren't any. Because, I don't know. It's just crazy that we're not even going to name this guy. And he's also not going to go, he's not going to face any, any criminal charges. But this Gupta guy is on the line. He was going to give $100,000 for the hit. Apparently that's what life is worth in this situation. But yeah, it didn't work out. And it's also, like, more egg on India's face because the way this plays out with Najjar, I'm remembering his name now, the man who was assassinated in Canada, like, he talks about him both. Like, essentially he's saying, oh, well, you don't have to worry about Gupta. He's done. Don't worry about that. But I need you to get this Phnom guy right now. Like, make that happen as soon as you can. Like, I'm paraphrasing the conversation. But essentially he's like, yo, you got the green light. Let's fucking run that shit. And it's like, man, like, y'all can't just be trying to silence motherfuckers for wanting to have, like, their own place. Like, Khalistan, whether or not you love it, you hate it, whatever, like, there's no reason to be like, oh, we gotta fucking silence these motherfucking voices. And I know the retort from India is, well, these separatists aren't, like, kind, cute, cuddly guys. Like, these are people who did terrorist activity in our country, and then they left, and now they're just getting away with it. Okay, sure, but, like, once again, I cannot stress this enough, that doesn't give you a blank check to 007 a motherfucker. You don't just get to just kill at will here. You know what I mean? And yeah, I know, yet again, this is a filthy fucking, blood-stained hand American saying this shit, but, like, it's bad for any country to do this. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're a fucking up-and-coming, superpower like India. You don't just get to say, hey, I want to kill someone for talking bad about my fucking country. Like, Modi's got to answer for that, if you ask me. God damn it. And that is the Prime Minister of India. So, yeah, not the president. I know that one, for sure. Okay. Let's go ahead and move along. On that note, from the Associated Press, Finland will close its entire border with Russia over migrant concerns. Finland said Tuesday it will close its last remaining border crossing with Russia amid concerns that Moscow is now using migrants as part of hybrid warfare to destabilize the Nordic country following its entry into NATO. Excuse me. Finland already had shut 7 of 8 checkpoints of its 1,340 kilometer or 830 mile border with Russia this month, following a surge in arrivals of migrants from the Middle East and Africa. Helsinki has accused Moscow of ushering them towards the frontier through thick forests in the south to the rugged Arctic landscape in the north. let's see here. Now, this is only supposed to last for 2 weeks. And I will say that there is credence in the sense of like, okay, I think that there was maybe like 100 migrants that they kind of expected to have happen, and there was like a total of like 900 plus that. Finnish authorities say some 1,000 migrants without visas or valid documentation have arrived since August at the normally heavily controlled border, which makes up a significant part of NATO's northeastern flank and acts as the European Union's external border in the north. Of that number, about 900 of those coming to Finland's border with Russia arrived this month, an unusual increase for the country of 5.6 million. The Finnish authorities said the asylum seekers are from countries that include Eritrea, Ethiopia, Iraq, Pakistan, Somalia, Syria, and Yemen, they said. Now, if you're a longtime listener, y'all know how I feel about borders and how I feel about closed borders specifically, and countries that are like, oh, we hate immigration. Oh, there's too many of these illegals. Fuck that shit. Fuck you. You're lame for that. That's fucked up. At the end of the day, persecuting any kind of migrant trying to make their way, from point A to point whatever, fuck you. Like, let them in. Like, oh, we can't keep these people. They're taking on like, fuck you, man. Like, spare me. I don't want to fucking hear it. You can make it happen. Call me a sore optimist, but I do believe that an open border policy in any kind of situation is a better fucking policy. Now, my second point I want to make is fuck Russia for this shit. Because at the end of the day, when you take migration and you use it as a thing, like, oh, we're going to weaponize this. Because I do believe that is what Russia is doing. They're trying to stick it to Finland for saying, hey, congratulations on your NATO fucking membership, you piece of shit. Here's all these illegals. Like, and they try to do this kind of thing to, like, make a destabilization. You know what I mean? So it's like, hey, we're fucking up all of Europe. Ha 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 ha. That's what you get. But that to me is another form of fucked up shit, which you are now using migrants as a pawn. And it's like, once again, you guys, as Russia, you guys are losing motherfuckers. You guys are having a brain drain, motherfuckers. You could use whoever the fuck you can get to stay in your country, god damn it. So, I don't know. Why don't you just let motherfuckers hang out and have your fucking Whack Arnold's or whatever the fuck McDonald's is that y'all have. Okay? God damn it. So, it's kind of fuck both countries on this shit. I'm throwing tomatoes on both sides of this border here. But, yeah. I mean, I once again, I think it's fucked up that you are playing around with people. Like, what are these people trying to do? They're trying to flee a bad situation. They're trying to get into a better place. That's what every motherfucking person is trying to do here. We're trying to survive, trying to make it to tomorrow. And you're like, oh, no, you don't look like us, so please leave. Like, get the fuck out of here. Grow the fuck out. I don't know. All right. Let's move along. This is kind of a bit of a loaded episode. From the Associated Press. U.S. Air Force Osprey crashes off Japan during training, killing at least one of the 8 on board. So yeah, yet again, we are talking about bad U.S. military equipment. A U.S. Air Force Osprey based in Japan crashed during a training mission Wednesday off the country's southern coast, killing at least one of the 8 crew members, the Japanese Coast Guard said. The cause of the crash and the status of the 7 others on board were not immediately known, Japanese Coast Guard spokesperson Kazuo Ogawa said. They go through kind of like a lot of Osprey factoids and shit like that. We've covered that before in the podcast. Feel free to run it back. Feel free to look up this article and read it yourself. And that's unfortunate, man. I hate kind of covering these situations. It's literally like, hey, it's a training mission. We're just running through our paces. We're just doing our jobs. And you die? That's just like sad as hell to me, man. That's such a fucking bummer to me, man. Very fucking unfortunate. Like, I find myself so torn when like talking about something like this Osprey aircraft, because it's very cool. Like, the more I learn about it, the cooler it sounds. But then, like, every time I go on this podcast to talk about it, I'm telling you how it just crashed and people died. So like I don't know how I feel about it. You know what I mean? I feel very torn about it. So yeah, like I said, feel free to peruse this article if you'd like. If there's any more details on the matter, I will probably be here to update you about it. But let's talk. I got one more story. I have one more story to cover. It's a local fucking yokel, and I definitely will not get through it without laughing, and that's unfortunate. But let me take my break, and then we'll get into it. Oh, I'm just making all the bad noises. I'm so sorry. Shout outs to all the homies that hang out through all the burps, through all the coughs, through all of the slurpy noises. I salute you. I salute you so much, especially if you like have that meso. I almost said mesothelioma. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Whatever. Mastication. I don't know. Whatever the thing is where you hate teeth chomping and weird noises. Because I know you are hopping on a grenade every time you press play on my shit. And you're the GOAT. You're the real one. But anyway, let's talk about Ohio. Let's talk about some real shit going on in Pringles cans. Oh, God. From the Cincinnati.com. Why did I say it like that? It's from the Inquirer, from the Cincinnati Inquirer. Ohio attorney suspended over pooping in a Pringles can, leaving it in parking lot. What? What the fuck? Okay, this one yucked me up, bro. The Ohio Supreme Court suspended an attorney who defecated into a Pringles potato chip can and then tossed it into the parking lot of a crime victim advocacy center. So this is why I shouldn't laugh, because apparently Jack A. Blakesley, whatever the fuck you are, man. Jack A. Poopsie, that's how I'm gonna fucking call you for the rest of this shit. What was Poopsie's defense? What was Poopsley's defense? He said he didn't target anyone, but had a habit of putting his feces in Pringles cans and randomly throwing them in his car. He claimed he pulled the Pringles prank at least 10 times that year. My brother in Christ, that is not a prank. That's not a prank. To me, that would be domestic terrorism. What are you doing? Giving me a Pringles pipe bomb? Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. My man dropped a poop stack just right there in the parking lot. And once again, this is like an advocacy center. I don't want to like besmirch that. I'm not trying to shit on that. Like, you feel me? But I cannot understand this. I cannot wrap my head around this. And I just am filled with like just laughter to fill the void that is this insane moment. I don't know. So yeah, man, this happened. That being said, I'm trying to think here. Also, there was clever like use of like punnery here or whatever, but the court didn't buy it and said that Poop Sleeves purposely chose the Heaven of Hope in Cambridge as his drop zone. Surveillance video captured the incident on November of 2021. Let's see here, and they also say Blakesley had known the victim advocates at the center for years and was scheduled to see them in court 15 minutes after the Pringles deposit. At the time, Blakesley was representing someone accused in a capital murder case. Now, the verdict is a suspension from law for a year, with 6 months of that suspension stayed. So there's that classic notorious burp. I'm sorry. I'm Pringles canning your ear right now. But this man is still going to be a lawyer if he wants to be in a year. You know what I mean? Like, that's insane to me. Like, You would just, like, I'm sorry, but if I took a job, if you take my job, for example, if I took a shit on the job, like, I just said, fuck it, I'm just gonna take a shit in the dumpster, and someone found out, I'm not suspended without pay for a year, and well, maybe I could come back in like 6 months and maybe get back to my job. I don't know, but that would be a miracle run for me. Okay, most likely I'm not back on the premises again. Okay, you would think anyone going into their job, that would be the end of it. You're done. You can never practice law again, brother. Fuck it. Like, but hey, but for Poopsly, it's just another prank. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a number 11 for this guy. But I just had to talk about this. I just could not help myself. I know Ohio is better than this. This is a bad example of an Ohio man, but it happens. You know, that's just another day in the city, baby. Okay, and that's the episode. Patreon.com, says Isaiah News. If you'd like to support the effort, you know, financially, fiscally, you do become a newsie. I shout you out at the top of the month if you'd like, and plug a project thing you're doing. Free ways to hit me up, isaiahnews1@gmail.com. Feel free to subscribe to the YouTube. That helps out a lot. Another free way to help out. Let's see here. Thumbs up, all the comments. And then I'm on all the socials you're on if you want to follow or, you know, say what's up or what have you. Means a lot. It really does. And honestly, shout out once again to the listeners. Like, you really do warm my fucking heart. You know what I mean? In a way that no bullshit ass radiator ever could, okay? You know, whether it is just like you just tune in to hear how my day is going, whether you're actually tuning in from fucking tip to fucking stern or whatever the fuck they say on a fucking pirate ship or a ship, whatever. It's the end of the episode. Most people don't listen. But if you did listen to this fucking bullshit ass rant, pre-kisses for you, okay? All right? Thank you so much for that. And hopefully, you know what? Hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.